Solyman left Constantinople on the 10th May 1529 with an army of 250,000 men and 300 cannons. A season of almost incessant rain made their march to the Danube laborious and slow, and it was the 3rd of September before the Sultan reached Ofen, which had been occupied by the troops of Ferdinand during the preceding year. Ofen was taken in 6 days, and Zapolya was solemnly installed by the Turkish victors on the ancient throne of the dynasty of Arpad. The Sultan then continued his advance to Vienna, taking with him his vassal king and a corps of the Hungarians who recognized Zapolya as their sovereign. With the storms of the autumnal equinox, the first squadrons of the terrible irregular cavalry of the Turks sweep round the walls of the Vienna. This akindji, 30,000 strong, called by the French Faucheurs and Ecorcherus, mowers and flyers, by the Germans Sackmen, were led by Michael Oglu, the descendant of Michael of the Peaked Beard, who had been the friend of the first Osman. These ferocious marauders who received no pay and whose cruelty exceeded even their rapacity spread devastation and slaughter through all Austria, as far as the river Ems. On the eve of the feast of St. Wenceslaus, 27th September, Solyman himself arrived with the main Turkish army beneath Vienna, and fixed the imperial headquarters on the high ground to the west of the village of Simmering. 12,000 Janissaries were posted around the Sultan's tent. 7 encampments were raised by the various divisions of the army, forming nearly a circle around the Vienna, and the whole country west of the Danube, far as the eye could range from the highest steeple in the city, was white with the Moslem tents. The water-meadows and islands of the Danube and its branches near the city were also strongly occupied, and the flotilla of 400 Turkish barks, well manned and condemned, watched the city by water and kept up the communication between the besieging troops. The force that defended Vienna amounted to only 16,000 men, and when the campaign began, the fortifications of the city consisted of little more than a continuous wall, about 6 feet thick, without bastions. The artillery amounted to only 72 guns. King Ferdinand had exerted himself earnestly to induce the other German princes to aid him, but his brother, the Emperor Charles, was occupied with his own ambitious schemes in Italy, and the princes of the empire, to whom Ferdinand had applied at the Diet of Spiers thought more of their religious differences with each other than of the common danger of their fatherland. So, warned by Ferdinand that Sultan Solyman had declared his determination to carry his arms to the Rhine. The Diet voted aid, but it was inadequate and tardy, and while the princes deliberated, the Turk was in Austria. Ferdinand himself dreaded Solyman's threats and kept aloof from Vienna. But some brave Christian leaders succeeded in forcing their way into the city before it was entirely belangeneered, and a body of Spanish and German veterans, under, under the Palgrave Philip, proved an invaluable reinforcement to the garrison, but so the Christian defenders of Vienna were few. They were brave and well commanded. The Palgrave Philip was the nominal superior, but the veteran Count of Salm was the real director of the defense. All possible preparations were made while the Turks were yet approaching. The suburbs were destroyed, a new earthen rampart was raised within the city. The river bank was palisaded, provisions and stores were collected, and the women and children and the other inhabitants who were unable to do service as combatants or as laborers were compelled to leave the city. Providentially for Vienna, the incessant rains and the consequent badness of the roads had caused the Turks to leave part of their heaviest artillery in Hungary. They were obliged to rely chiefly on the effect of mines for breaching the walls, but the numbers and the zeal of the besiegers made the fall of the city apparently inevitable. Many sallies and partial assaults took place in which great gallantry was displayed on both sides, and infinite skill and devotion were shown by the defenders in counteracting the mining operations of their enemies. But the Ottoman engineers succeeded in springing several mines, which tore open large gaps into the defense. And on 3 consecutive days, the 10th, 11th, and 12th of October, the Turks assaulted the city with desperation, but were repelled with heavy carnage. But the steady valor of the besieged, the Ottoman forces now began to suffer severely by scarcity of produce and by the inclemency of the season, and the slaughter which had fallen to their best troops filled the army with discouragement. But it was resolved to make one more attempt on carry Vienna, and on the 40th of October the Turkish infantry in 3 huge columns charged up to the breach. With their miners and cannoneers had run to the road to victory and plunder. Solyman had endeavored to stimulate their courage and emulation by a liberal distribution of money, and by the promise of high rank and wealth of the Moslem who should be first on the crest of the breach. The Grand Vizier and the highest officers of the army accompanied the stormers, and when the Christian cannoneers and musketry roared forth their deadly welcome, and the dispirited Mahometans rallied back from the blood-stained ruins, the Turkish chiefs were seen amid the confusion striving, after the old Oriental custom, to force their men, and again to the assault by blows with the stick and whip and sword. But even the best veterans of Solyman refused obedience and said that they had rather be killed